this was an impossible character Nat Love was. And kind of what was being asked of him, all the people he got to interact with, that just seemed unreal to me.
Congratulations on the film. And it looks really amazing. But what made you drawn to this movie?
Wow, what drew me to The Harder They Fall?
Yeah,
When I read it, I felt this was an impossible character Nat Love was. And kind of what was being asked of him, all the people he got to interact with, that just seemed unreal to me. And then
yeah,
you add on top of that that it's a all our heroes, all our characters are, part of the African American, or I guess the African diaspora, and I thought, well, that's just a beautiful thought, and I'd like to be a part of that. Um,
mhm,
I'd like to be a part of that.
absolutely. And the story is a fictional story, but it's with real characters based on cowboys in the 1800s. So, what did you know about Nat Love before taking this role?
Oh, Nat Love, what did I know about him? Honestly, before taking the role, nothing. I had
Right.
heard the word, right, or the pseudonym Deadwood Dick before, and hadn't put them together in any way.
Yeah.
And even then, Deadwood Dick was a notorious name in general, in the time, and I didn't know that it was to be attributed to Nat Love. Um, so I didn't know much about him. However, I knew that we were there. We
Yeah.
existed in
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah.
in that occupation, in that way, doing those things, in those places. I did know that. I myself, I'm from Texas, and we've always had. I mean, horses have never been far from us. Cattle, chickens, roosters, all that stuff. That's not. It's never been.
Mhm.
That's not novel for me growing up. And if it's not novel for me, I'm sure there's other people from the same walks of life that it's not novel for.
Right.
Yeah.
And with this film, it has an all-star cast, and you get to work with some very talented people, including Idris Elba.
Yeah.
What was it like working with him? Because he's kind of the antagonist in the film, and you're the protagonist. But what is it like working with Idris?
What's it like working with Idris Elba? I mean, his the magnitude of his presence is beautiful, and he has such a command over his energetic um, output. I've watched and I've felt it ebb and flow in a scene, in a moment.
Yeah,
Um, I remember in the final scene, actually, he said something to me. Actually, said something to our director Jeymes, and he said, we got to get that. And then talking about something that's happening, on the other side of the camera, in regards to performance on my end, that he
yeah,
was seeing something that I was doing, and he felt that he wanted to make sure that that was in the movie, that kind of big brothership, that kind of looking after the film and looking after, the younger actor, the younger man in the moment. Um, so that's a little story about, how tight we became. There's also elements of, he's a storyteller. He's a storyteller, and he's a very physical storyteller. And there are certain things that he brought to the table that I just was like, yeah, that's gonna be great. I'll roll with you on that.
hmm
And vice versa. So it's so interesting because we wanted to start, and never meet until we did at work, on set, and that just became impossible because one, because of the climate in which we were making it,
right.
the pandemic, etc. Uh, that we just had to be close to each other because we were allowed to, and we needed to rehearse and we needed to do all these things, and we were living in the same town, So we established this really nice relationship, this really nice energetic relationship where we could be, partners at one point, and then, in the discussion of it, and then become, find ourselves in beautiful opposition, which was great. The hunter and the hunted, and we kind of changed those roles throughout the day and throughout
Yeah.
the scenes, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned you were from Texas, and I read that you grew up in that kind of rodeo culture. So were you a big fan of Western movies growing up? And if so, what were some of your favorites?
Well, rodeo culture kind of comes around, like, I mean, everyone got a big family, right? My cousins and them still to this day are kind of rodeo guys, but I split my time between our farm down home and Dallas.
Right.
Um, but what did I know about, the culture of cowboys, etc.? Is that what we're getting at?
Oh, I
Uh,
guess I just read, yeah, something along those lines. But
yeah,
yeah,
and the Western and the idea of the
right.
Western and stuff like
Right,
that.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I knew the Western. I knew the Western because my grandfather, my granddaddy used to watch them all the time. Used to
Yeah.
love Westerns. My mother, also, like, her favorite show growing up, and even, I guess not growing up, while I was growing up, was Little House on the Prairie, and we would just watch that all the time, all the time, all the time, all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And then you watch a Western, or you watch Little House on the Prairie, and then you go outside and you walk around with your grandpa, or driving back home to Dallas, and you'd see the world that was on the TV, to a degree. You know,
Mhm.
uh, it was different for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I don't see too many black folks, in Little House on the Prairie,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
what
yeah.
have you. But the things they were doing were similar.
Of course. And with this film, and other than the obvious, as you mentioned, what can fans expect from The Harder They Fall, and how is it different from other Western movies?
Woo! What can you expect from The Harder They Fall? You will be entertained, I believe, with The Harder They Fall. It is a
Yeah.
full on. It is a buffet of entertainment, a buffet of catharsis, a buffet of historical relevance, and zeitgeist contributing factors. The music is music that we're offering so much in the piece, right? We're offering to cinema in general this way of shooting, this very traditional, purist, avant-garde way of telling a story, and we're also doing that in a very classical genre with all of these incredibly relevant, hungry, aggressive artists, right, on
Yeah.
screen. And then we're adding in music that is for everybody, made by
Yeah.
some of the most, if not the most, pivotal members of that genre. And I'm talking about music. The contributions that were made to this film. I mean, governments could learn from us. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
the way we cooperate in order to build the story. The
Yeah.
way we collaborated in order to chisel out this statue that is The Harder They Fall. So you will get a lot. I mean, there's a lot there. If you want gluten free, watch this scene. If you want meat, watch this scene. If you want, it's all
Yeah.
there.
Really quick, I have one last question. Uh,
Yeah.
I love all your projects so far, and you've done a great job. But you're also Kang the Conqueror, and you're part of the Marvel cinematic universe. Really quickly, what was it like? What was it like been working with Paul Rudd and just being part of the Marvel cinematic universe?
I mean, Paul, we're doing, yeah, yeah. Paul is our leader, and he's awesome. It's an awesome energy, and to be a part of the MCU is kind of a dream you didn't know you were having.
Yeah.
As a theater kid, I've joined a huge company, of these incredible art makers. That's from cinematographers to my fellow actors to directors. You're part of a company now, and
Yeah.
and that feels really good. Very much like the old days. Old days.
Yeah.
With these theater troops. So it's cool.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, again, congratulations on the movie. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, my bro.
Congratulations on the film. this is your first film where you're directing. It's the first full-length feature film that you're directing. So what was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was amazing, you know, being my debut movie, and then us shooting in the first worldwide pandemic in something like 102 years. It was the craziest, most exhilarating, thrill, scary, danger ride I've ever been upon. It was crazy, but it was awesome. I don't, you know, when I look at the film, I'm like, wow, how did we do that in a pandemic? But you know, we did. For me, it being my first feature, I think prepped me and was enabled me to take on all the scares because I'd never done it before. So we're just like, okay, this is the rules of filmmaking. It's like learning to drive in a Bugatti. If you can't drive, it doesn't matter whether it's a Mini Cooper or Lamborghini Diablo. Just sit me down. Okay, tell me what I have to do. All right. Let me at it.
It's funny that you mentioned that because obviously with directing, there's so many challenges. So what was the biggest challenge for you directing your first full-length feature film?
The biggest challenge, bro, was I had to wear a mask, I had to wear goggles, and I had to keep 6 feet away from the actors at all times. Yeah. This is crazy. I'm an excitable individual. I have mad energy. That's how I got the movie greenlit in the first place. I'm like, and this is what we have to do. But all of a sudden, it's almost like you have to move like an astronaut in an astronaut's uniform. That was the biggest challenge for me, and just getting used to those parameters set by this worldwide killer disease that was taking over the planet. That was the biggest challenge. The rest of it was more fun, if any, than anything.
Oh, of course. I definitely understand that. And you directed short films in the past. I know you directed a short short Western film in 2013. So was something like The Harder They Fall a goal for you?
Yeah. The whole point of me doing that, the short film, I actually directed in 2012. They Die by Dawn with Michael K. Williams and everyone.
Okay.
Was that there are these feature. Well, the whole point of that was just to let people know that these people existed in that time. I self-funded. I didn't release it commercially. I just wanted to let people know that there was people of color that existed in the Old West, and I would tour with it theatrically. But the whole point was to one day make features where I can explore those themes and those tropes and broaden the scope that we were given just growing up about the Old West and the portrayals of people of color and women and stuff.
Of course. And along with you directing, JayZ is actually a producer. So what was it like collaborating with him?
Collaborating with Jay is like breathing. There's no area artistically that I venture where he is not already acutely and intimately fluent in.
Yeah.
This dude speaks every artistic language you can come up with: film, music, arts, like everything. So collaborating with Jay, it was super fun and really awesome in that the way he would tell you things story-wise. Like I may be stuck on a particular story point. Like I'll have the guy not want to shoot someone in the back, but why doesn't he want to shoot this guy in the back? Why is he savoring it? Why do we savor that moment and talk? Why doesn't the villain ever just kill Bond when he has him immediately first? Why
right.
They're this long? And Jay would do something like, look, the reason why you can't do that is because, okay, in Brooklyn, and he'll tell me this story about the guy rolling up on him and thing, and the guy drawing the moment out, and a true story, documented stories of someone shooting at him 3 times at close range and missing, him drawing the gun. As he said, this is not a movie. You draw the gun, but you're in the line of fire and you drop the gun. He'll be telling me about all of these real things that sometimes will give me the psychological workings of a gunslinger in this particular tale. It's awesome the way he dives into the story plot points and stuff, and we kick it back and forth.
Of course. And, it's funny because Western movies, they've been a part of American culture for years and years and years. So have you always been a fan of Western films? And if so, what are some of your favorites?
I've been a fan of Westerns since I literally was born. They were always on in the background. I'm a super fan of cinema, but Westerns were always my favorite genre. I think, obviously, the Sergio Leone Westerns. Incidentally, my favorite Western of Sergio Leone's is For Few Dollars More, the second in his Eastwood trilogy. Then there's a film called Il Gran Silencio by Sergio Corbucci, and it has a black guy in it. It's one of the first Westerns where the black guy's in it, and there's no reference to his color. And it has one of the most uncompromising endings I've ever seen in the history of cinema. And then the movie just ends. You're like, no way, that can't happen. Like the Italians, the way they approached story, camera, and music was absolutely revolutionary. I implore everyone to watch Il Gran Silencio, the great silence, and see how that movie ends. When it gets to the ending, you're like, no way, no, I will not accept that. And no way, really? And then credits start rolling. That movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, with Lee Marvin, James Stewart, John Wayne, a young Lee Van Cleef, Strother Martin, all of these great actors. The Big Country. I love all of them. It's hard for me to pick out a favorite of all time, but one Western I always go back to is For Few Dollars More, because that film is literally, it's almost as if Sergio Leone's mission was swag. What are you going to do for this swag?
Yeah.
Okay, how are you going to swag? Just swag from front to back. It's just a wicked film, and pacey.
Absolutely. And with The Harder They Fall, it comes with an all-star cast. I just talked to Jonathan Majors. There's Idris Elba, Regina King. It's just an amazing cast. So what was it like working with all of them?
Working with Jonathan Majors, Idris Elba, Regina King, Lakeith Stanfield, Danielle Deadwyler, Eddie Gathie, R.J., The Black God, Kyla, Dion Cole, all of these people, Delroy Lindo. It was amazing beyond words. Regina King had just shot, she was in post-production of One Night in Miami. So she had just shot her debut feature film. And was giving me all of these tips the entire time we were filming, just giving me tips on the production, what to look out for. But she's directed a great deal in her career, like a great deal of TV and stuff. So she's giving me just all of these tips and production pointers. And Idris Elba, who a few years ago directed his debut feature film Yardie, and he would be checking on me in the evening, and we'll be making music. And then Jonathan Majors, he turned the whole environment, our living environment, into the Old West. He was like he was Daniel Day-Lewis. He changed all the cutlery in my house. So I was literally living a cowboy lifestyle as he was. It was just wicked, man, from front to back. Working with those guys was a dream. Lakeith Stanfield and the conversations him and I would have about the soul and the motivations of his character. It was amazing. It was amazing, like beyond belief. It was exactly what you'd want it to be and more.
Of course. I can definitely see that. And the last question for me before I let you go is, obviously the movie looks great and I think it will do well once it's released worldwide, but why should moviegoers see The Harder They Fall?
The reason why moviegoers should see The Harder They Fall is simple. The Harder They Fall, Brian, is the movie that should not exist. The Harder They Fall is that movie that's spoken about in a barbershop. The Harder They Fall is the barber with the clippers going, know what Hollywood should do? Is make a movie. The stars like Idris Elba, Stanfield. Guys underneath like, yo, man, you're going too low. The other guys on the other chair. The other guys on the other chair like, it would never happen, no. And then the other guy, there's always someone in the barbershop smoking. He'll be smoking because it's smelling up the place. Like, and he's blowing the head. It should be a Western. They should use all real characters. Yeah, but they'll never do it though. You know, he's a skeptic. He's like Doubting Thomas. They'll never do it though. That's why Hollywood lame, man. They never do what they supposed to do. But one day somebody gonna come along, look, he gonna do it. Trust me, he gonna do it. And that person is me. I came along. Now we got The Harder They Fall with Bill Pickett, Rufus Buck, all of these black superheroes from the Old West that we never seen portrayed on screen, all in one place and one time, swagging out women. Regina King, aka Trudy Smith. Where's your boss? My boss. Clearly, you don't know me. Where you gonna get that movie? I'm sorry, Phil. So excited. Movie.
Yeah.
That's why you should see The Harder They Fall. And also, Jeymes did it.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. Again, congratulations on the movie. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian, man. Peace to the gut.